Hey, welcome to the Razzle Dazzle Show, a podcast where we talk about our favorite video games and all things pop culture with an emphasis on our favorites. I'm your host, Jared, and our guest today is Kendall Quiñones. Kendall is the founder of Little Legendary Games, an independent game development studio currently creating Shade Protocol, a 2D cyber fantasy action-adventure game that blends music and code in unique ways. Prior to launching the studio, Kendall spent over a decade leading product and insights teams across the tech, finance, and insurance sectors. He played a key role in helping Fortune 100 companies navigate digital transformation, built machine learning-driven products at the world's largest credit bureau, and led strategic initiatives during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. Please let us know what you think about this episode somewhere on the internet, and be sure to follow us on Instagram at Razzle Dazzle Show, on TikTok at Razzle_Dazzle_Show, on Blue Sky at Raz-Show-Pod, and on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Raz_Daz_Pod. And with all that being said,
it's Razzle Dazzle time.
Hello, Kendall. Thank you so much for being on the show. How are you today?
Doing pretty good. Thank you so much for having us, Jared. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it even more. I am so excited that this is going to be the start to something beautiful, and I can't wait for the future. But before I get carried away, I have a quick Kickstarter question for you, and this is one of the most serious Kickstarter questions I've ever asked someone, I think. In your opinion, who is the one in the Matrix?
It has to. I mean, I understand that we always want to use, I guess, Neo, but in my mind, I think like the architect is the best character of that story. I just have so much fun with the guys like over explaining everything. You get to see the entire world through his view, and you're like, this. If this is how AI turns out, it's kind of fine. We deserve this. So I know that's not necessarily your question, but I deeply enjoyed it, and definitely whoever's the one, putting all those little systems in order to teach, Neo how to do kung fu or to fly a helicopter. That's the one, because without that person, the story would have crashed.
So whoever made the Matrix, which is the architect?
I think so.
Okay, that's a unique opinion. And I'm really glad that you shared that with us.
For sure. We'll see a lot of that when we get to our own story, where I think the normal trope is that the hero is always the universe surrounds them and it goes around them. But it's such an amazing thing to see. I guess like a more a complete and thought out nemesis, we'll call it, that kind of feels that it's not just there because they're just flat out evil. I think that's a thing that the Matrix did kind of well. I remember it fondly, for sure.
Understood. Okay, well, I'm sure we'll jump back into it at some point in the future, but let's start at the beginning. Can you tell us, where did you grow up, and how would you describe the musical background of your childhood?
I'm from San Juan, Puerto Rico. This is a tiny little island in the middle of the Caribbean, and it's such a beautiful place. Definitely a place that's very laid back. It's a place that I think parties every single day of the year. It's a little hard to get anything done there because you're always pretty much enjoying yourself. There's the island is like 100 miles by 35, so you're always around less than an hour away from a beach. So it's just a completely amazing place to live and retire, and is a horrible place to be productive, for sure. So in terms of music, I think our culture there has a lot of kind of the type of music that you dance to. So it's like salsa, merengue, and these type of very intense, we'll call it, and romanticized kind of musical forms. And the instruments are all very there's a lot of percussion. There's a lot of that feeling of joy in the music. And it's definitely the type of music that you hear in like telenovelas and things like that, soap opera. So it's difficult to not grow to be a little passionate, I guess, when you were raised with that kind of music. It's a beautiful island. I love it a lot. I don't live there anymore. I'm in the United States now. My entire family is over there, so I go there at least once a year to see them all.
Did you have any instruments growing up in the household?
We did. The question is very interesting. I had a Spanish guitar. I learned to play just a little bit of it. My sister was learned how to play piano, which I always found gorgeous and I really wanted to learn, but it wasn't like a thing that I could put in, the time into at that age. And it was kind of difficult for us to kind of dispense the times, because my sister would be able to they'll be able to take her to the lessons while I was still in school. So it was kind of one of those things that I just never got a chance. But definitely the guitar was a good memory. My mom used to play a little bit of it, and I remember kind of those, those memories that you kind of remember like a sunset, and a memory that never goes away. I have that memory of like my mom sitting on a balcony, like playing her guitar, and it's like a pretty beautiful thing that I don't think, hopefully I never forget.
You were the one mainly learning the Spanish guitar, and that was like the only instrument you were learning yourself? Your sister, piano, your mom already knew it, and you were also trying to learn it as well? Just clarifying.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really get to learn the proper way, but I learned, enough chords to defend myself, and but I used to like just grab it and mess with it. When you're a child, and you get to have an instrument like that at home, and you see like an adult that plays it really well, like you think it's easy, so you grab it's like, how hard could this be? And then I don't know, or like your fingers are bleeding and you're like, this is not as easy as I thought. So I tried, but I don't think I didn't have the focus there, because then eventually I had video games, and then that threw a grenade into learning anything other than video games.
So you haven't picked up the guitar since then?
No. I wanted to buy one just to have it here as a memory, but no as a thing that I gave the time to learn, or that I would be able to play at a party or something like that. Definitely not. I would embarrass myself for sure. I already do that enough, but I wouldn't want to do it with music.
Okay. Do you remember the first band or musician that really got your attention when you were young? The things that you started listening to?
Oh, I think like, I probably had earlier memories, I'm sure, but I know like, I can't like even pretend. Like, I mean, Evanescence got me real good for a while. I'm not going to lie. Like, had too many reasons for that, too many reasons. But right. I think like I liked Red Hot Chili Peppers was pretty much the only concert I've ever gone to in my entire life.
Wow.
Pretty boring. But I think it's not easy for me to say the one band to rule them all for me. But I think more as I became older, it was harder and harder to find like something that was not as we'll say, I don't know if the word slow one not, but even like some of the more emotional songs from Evanescence, and eventually like One Republic, which is a completely different vibe, completely like they don't even sound alike.
Right.
These kind of tracks that you want to hear the words is, I think, what my preference is in the end. So I do listen to a ton of music, but mostly instrumental music. So I don't know. I just became that kind of person.
Instrumental,
not like classical, but no, like I guess I don't know if the word's instrumental, but I listen to a lot of
orchestra
game music, like the Expedition 33 soundtrack is probably something that I listen to.
OSTs then, I guess.
Yeah,
gotcha.
And sometimes I call it also like trailer music, stuff like that. I like to listen to things that I can think of I can imagine what's happening on my own. Like
gotcha.
It's not necessarily a complete story, but yeah. Other than that, yeah, I think that's. I also like lo-fi music.
Yeah.
Enough to listen to it, I'd say once a week. Not like I sit there and work through it or with it, but it's definitely part of what I like. I'm not a big into, I would say, the type of like electronic music or stuff like that. I appreciate it, and I think it's really awesome, but I like to hear the instruments a little more. I guess that's what I prefer.
So this next question requires a bit of context, so please bear with me. I work at an NPR PBS station in Southwest Florida as a producer, audio engineer, right? And I work on this other show called 3 Song Stories, where we tell people's biography through music, right? So the guests will come in, They will pick 3 songs that every time they listen to these songs, they immediately get transported back to a time and place that they have a significant story associated with it. It can be anything, right? It could be something like super important to their lives. It could be like a funny anecdote, just a funny story, or something depressing, whatever. I want to ask you off the top of your head, do you have one song story you're willing to share?
There's a song that I really like. Yeah, I think The Sound of Silence by the version of Disturbed. I think it's a really spectacular track. So this is like, if I remember right, Simon and Garfunkel, and they had this Sound of Silence song, right? I'm not going to sing it, but I think most people know it, and if you don't know it, find it. The Sound of Silence by Disturbed. It's a very beautiful song, and if you give it a chance, it gets like more and more and more intense through the track. I like that version a lot. I think that brings me a lot of memories of how something can be transformed that drastically. It was hard for me to imagine, because I remember the track when I was a child, like from maybe my mother listened to it or something, but we don't listen to tracks in English in Puerto Rico mostly, but it was that famous of a song that we at least knew you could recognize the song very easily. It was recognizable. But then when I heard this version, it definitely kind of made me feel like, wow, what a drastic change, and still there's kind of paying homage and respect to something that kind of existed already. So that's one track I would definitely say that means a lot to me. The song, before overanalyzing it, it feels like there is a path to some sort of it carries some sort of pain with it, of speaking of your surroundings and trying to understand like why is the world the way it is, kind of that's how it comes across to me. I had like this very difficult experience when I was much younger. I came back from the military. I served very, very young. I left when I was 17 to the military. I did a tour over there, participated in global war against terrorism, enduring freedom, Iraqi freedom. I was in the Arabian Gulf in an expeditionary strike group. I got to see a lot of the world very young. I was too young to see everything that happened over there. And this was post 9/11. So when we come back and we come to this side of the world, it was just very difficult to like adapt to this world again after, when you're deployed at sea for like 6 months, you're in the water for 2/3 of that nonstop. More actually, I would say probably you're in port for like 2 days, maybe in at a couple of ports. So we'll say, I don't know, 5.5 out of 6 months, you're constantly in the sea. At some point, you kind of fall in love with that kind of how the world works when you are contained in a mission. Like the world makes sense whenever you have like a clear objective. And when you come back, it's kind of hard I guess I could still call myself a child. I come back when I'm like 22, 23, and the world doesn't make a lot of sense to me at that point. People live lives that it don't make sense to me. Like there's very little, I would call it, discipline. The world is very, very strange to me at that point. And you come back with like a slight degree of, I would say, like misplaced arrogance. Like you think maybe you've done more than you fantasize with what you did. Like you think like there's more to what you did than what actually ended up happening. But the core thing was the distance between the reality that I had lived and formed me into an adult, right? Because living so young and then coming back 4 or 5 years later to being surrounded by all your friends that are still doing what they were doing before, or living a life that it's much more traditional and normal that you expect, and then your mind doesn't like know how to deal with that. Like you grew too fast, and that's not really a good thing. I actually look at it and say, I don't regret that, but it was definitely a completely different experience. So I think when many years later, I hear this song, going back to it, and then it gave me that sense of like, not that how I judge the world. I don't think that's where I'm coming from. It's more like it gave me a sense like if I was looking at everything from the outside in, I get that feeling like there's that I don't quite understand at that point at least how this world's going to work and how I'm going to fit into it. And there's part of the of that track that also talks about like, like how we glorify like these things we've made, and I think that also has to do with things like our own hard beliefs that when you're on the other side, they just don't exist. Like it's very hard to, like, when people deeply care about, it's so important to me that you get my order right at Starbucks. Like, you're like, dude, that's like a war on the other side of the world. so it's things that for me were weird, but through time I got to mature and realize that that's freedom at play. That this is what we all want, right? To be in a society where we are all welcoming of each other, and the world's a better place because we're all different and here together. So definitely, I mean, the song kind of helped me realize this is, it's kind of that world where in your mind you're saying what's happening, like if there was some distance between you and that thing, but in reality you're part of it. So anyway, rambling over, pretty great song. Listen to it, you'll like it.
And in the naked light I saw 10,000 people, maybe more. People talking with.
How does that song fit into your life today?
I have it. It's in my I call it like an inspiration kind of list of songs that I listen to when I'm thinking about Shape Protocol. Mostly
Really?
because it. Yeah, I mean, there's two. You're not gonna believe what the second song. Well, there's many, but there's like 3 songs I would say that are kind of important. That one, I wouldn't say I listen to that one as often as it seems like I listen to it. There's another track I won't tell anyone about for now. And there's the third track that no one's gonna understand this, but if you've watched the Toy Story series,
Yeah.
there's a song where I wish I remember her name. I don't, but the little cowboy girl,
Jessie.
yeah, her song when she is like, when she loved me, that song, that emotional song about like, she used to love me and I was her favorite toy pretty much, and eventually through time, like, if you see that video, like she falls under the bed and then eventually like the girl doesn't find her anymore. It's a really beautiful, very painful moment, and I feel like that is if I had to visualize like Zura, our main character's like track, I would say something like that, right? Like this feeling of like, not where did you go, and that feeling of like, where that person that loved you the most, you wake up and they're no longer there. What does that look like? And I really like that track for that reason. Shape Protocol not that sad of a game, but I don't want people. But there's definitely that sense of like,
You're giving some insight for our main character right now, and I love that.
Yeah. There's quite some of that in there. I think most games that try to do anything related to, I don't know, androids or automatons or whatnot, it's always like they're so, and this is not a criticism, this is just what's happened, right? They're so larger than life, and they're like, superior in all the cool ways, you could call it, but their emotions are quite simple. And I think that's okay. I think like I want to try to get to a different place with it. And what if they were like pretty much almost human? What would that look like? And what would they miss if they are not? So I definitely believe that they should, in my story, they feel sorrow and they feel loss, and they, if you met your creator and you blinked and they were no longer there, you would feel something very strange, because it's not the same of not knowing. Now you know, and you are beyond a shadow of a doubt, like you felt their hand, they were there for you and they loved you unconditionally, and then they're gone. What does that has to be for, importantly, a being that cannot forget? Right? Because if you think about it that way in context, Zura is cannot forget. Like, this is, it doesn't work like that for a being that pretty much has all this data as data, right? So she'll never be able to forget that love of a mother, right? Of someone that sees you as the most valuable thing in their life, and out of nowhere, boom, not there. So what is that? That's my goal. To can we find a way to articulate that in a way that doesn't feel self-important, that doesn't take a lot of dialogue, that doesn't come across as the character's just like constantly suffering or isn't, I guess I would use self-important, but also shapes them. So yeah, I guess that would be my answer. Like I have like a track, a list of tracks that pretty much it's called Shape Protocol. It's like 100 songs in there that are just different types of vibes of that kind of pain and also high energy, right? What does a being excited look like for a being that it's a little bit more powerful than we are? Like,
Yeah.
So how do they experience anger and force, and also whenever they cannot do something? How do they feel when they're incompetent or unable? What does that feel like for a being that is designed to be able to do? So yeah, I get too excited about this, so I'll be quiet. But
No, I love it, man. Let's put a pin on the Shade Protocol talk just for a second because I love where this is going. I want to get back to your video game roots now. What was your first video game console?
Definitely hopefully my memory doesn't fail me, but I think definitely the Nintendo, the first Nintendo,
Okay.
at least to my memory. I think like maybe I played one or two things right before it, but they weren't mine, or maybe at a friend's house or something like that.
Right.
But yeah, Nintendo's my first memory. I remember, even though you get like little Mario and Nintendo, or is it Mario and Duck Hunt together? I think like my first memory of Duck Hunt versus Mario, and then after that, definitely Mario, and then from there, you kind of I owned as many as I could. We were always very, very behind. Like as a family, we just didn't have the means, but definitely I always kept up with all of it. Like I was very invested in that kind of fantasy. My mom did not like it, but it was important to me. Yeah, definitely. It was that kind of stuff that I just will never forget. Some of those games to this day, like even though you remember them with this huge nostalgia, if you play them together, you'll be like, this was not that great, but it was great for its time.
Right.
So it was great. It's just our memories kind of shift from there. So yeah, I mean, if I visualize Duck Hunt, I still hear that stupid dog. I still hear it like to today. So it's not like a. I also remember, this is interesting to see how people could say whatever they want to say about video games as a component of culture. When I've always been I mean, you can hear in my voice, I'm a nerd. I can't help it. But I've always been like good in school and stuff like that, and test taking and things like that. I had good grades, luckily. But I never felt that I ever wanted to cheat at all in any of those moments. And then the frustration of not like whenever you don't have the hand-eye coordination to hit the stupid like 3 or 2 birds that are flying through the screen at lightning speed, you kind of want to put your gun on top of the screen and then start smacking them. And I remember like yesterday that moment. I think it was my sister, if I remember right, pretty much telling me like, no, that's cheating. And I didn't know the word at all, like what that meant. And when that came through my mind, I said like, it's so intriguing to know that there's that mindset of breaking the rules, and that is a bad thing, right? So it brought in me the idea of like cheating is bad and you shouldn't do that, but so then the frustration has to be part of the game, and that was something that video games taught me. Like frustration is part of the game, and you have to learn to cope with it and manage it and thrive in it. And I think that's part of my core being as a person today. Like if you are not able to tolerate the business as usual, the things that are not comfortable, you will never achieve anything great. You will. I wrote it at some point, which is remain uncommon and help those around you do so too. For those who don't, will drown in a sea of being nothing but normal. And if you don't put the time to be, uncommon, to be able to endure these moments of frustration and I don't know, inability, like the moments that where you're not able to do, you will never achieve anything great, because that's what 75% of the work Like I'm sure that when you started your podcast, you weren't great at it. You
No,
probably started like
not at
figuring
all.
out like,
Oh my God. Been
how do
doing
you
this.
record this? How do you do OBS? How do you do that? How do
Oh
you
my God.
keep a conversation flowing? Like,
We've been doing
yeah.
this for over 5 years, almost 6, and it's taken a while to get to a point where we're like, okay, yeah, constant like high quality is what we're finally like getting at. And even now, like even if I listen to an episode that I did a year ago or edited a year ago, and I'm like, I'm still finding like the cracks, and I'm like, that could have been better, this could have been better, blah blah blah. But you're your own worst critic, right? But no, you're right. The consistency and putting in the work to whatever thing that you're working on, if you're passionate about it, yeah, there's gonna come challenges. You have to learn how to not only like get over those challenges, like get over those humps. You also have to be willing to fail and to make the mistakes. If you don't make the mistakes, then you can't learn.
Yeah, and I think that's the type of tolerance that games teach you.
Yeah, for sure.
We are since we are, you can edit this out if you want to, but here, we're in Discord, and people are writing in the chat, and I think there's something beautiful there that I want to go over real quick.
Oh, sure. Yeah, let me look at the chat too.
This person here called, their name is this Packet Law. So thank you for writing that out. He says he's casually talking about people optimizing the fun out of games. I think like that's such a great thing to think about, because the way these memories are baked into my brain is that we should plan for those. Like we should allow people to feel like they're breaking our games. And the more we do that, the less they'll optimize around it. The more they'll feel like there's discovery and excitement. And, like I am surrounded by a bunch of different devs from different games, and we talk all the time. And some of them, I could tell like they don't say this, but some of them loathe the idea of sequence breaking. Like it's like such a scary thing. Like people are going to play my game in the order that they want to. And then there's others that are, incredibly, welcoming of it. So I think like that whole concept of, can we make a game or anything, before we get into Shape Protocol, can we get into anything can we make anything such a good experience that people will just enjoy it for what it is? That is the core discipline of creating a good product of any kind, and it's very difficult to get that right. So for me, that's a core design principle. Like, can I make something that people would love for what it is, not for what I want it to be? I think yesterday I was having this morning I was having a conversation with a publisher, and one of the things that they mentioned was, because I think it's really important for developers to like to make the game they want to play, and that's a very nice thing to say.
Right.
I would, for lack of a better word, optimize that phrase to say, I want to make a game that my best friend wants to play. And there's a different level of care that goes into that, right? Because you and I probably share this with as many people. Sometimes we're very bad at solving our own problems.
Yes.
We're incredibly good at helping other people, right? Like, it's so easy. Like, why don't you just do this? And then when we're in the same problem, we're like, we can't take our own advice. If you're making a game for quote unquote your best friend, and then you can make every one of your players your best friend, then you will make something truly spectacular. Because you'll do it with an amount of care that is difficult to reproduce even for yourself. So yeah, I think this whole thing of optimizing the fun out of games plagues games. Metroidvania is definitely much more, I think, ARPGs than anything. Like those games that have like 1,400 talent points, and you can't make a mistake. And I love the difficulty of that. But is it realistic to think that people could do that without a guide, and then slowly but surely they become dependent on someone else's knowledge? I don't want that. I want people to play our game and feel enthralled by the circumstances and just go at it, right? So regardless of what you're doing in life, if you do it with the intention of handing it over to your best friend, that best friend could be yourself at any moment. And then as long as you look at it that way, most of the time you tend to be a little kinder to yourself and to the product. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, and I think this is a perfect segue to get into your journey into game development. You've come from a background in product data and machine learning. What was the biggest mindset shift when going from your corporate jobs into indie development?
Oh, that it's such a good and difficult question because when you come from corporate, specifically corporate companies are. I was lucky enough to work most of my career in Fortune 100 companies here in the United States, really huge companies, like insanely large companies. And these companies, I think the highest I've worked at was Fortune 30 at the time. Those companies operate like microcosms, like they are their own little universe. They have their own mentalities, their own behaviors, their own people have personalities that you don't see everywhere else. Like it's not like they're completely dissimilar, but people are, they become very unique because it's its own little society. Like you can have a company that has like 40, 50, 60, 80,000 employees, and you're dealing with them all the time. They become your friend group, they become the people you talk to, and even though you want to separate church and state, it's very difficult. So I think like coming from that, I was a product leader for some big companies. I've been in so many industries, from education to finance to insurance to technology, application development, AI, HR. I did. I think I mentioned education, but that's my favorite one out of all of them. But I've done enough to transfer that skill set of product. And whenever you're thinking about making something, coming into the gaming space, which I'll tell you the story a little later how I got here, but the main thing is I had this intense belief that this is going to be the most difficult thing I ever do. Because if you are an aspiring dev and you're listening to the podcast and you want to make a game, you live probably in this unfounded fear that this is the most difficult thing on earth. This is more difficult than rocket science. Like people glorify the difficulty of making a game so incredibly high. I think harder than any other industry I've been a part of. And I think I'm not going to say that it's easy. I'm not going to be that guy at all. But it's definitely less difficult and more nuanced is the word I would use. It's very nuanced. You got to know too much in order to do things right the first time. But is it really that daunting? No. Is this the most difficult project I've done in my entire life? No. Is it the most passionate, like the most spectacular, the one that I want to succeed the most? I would say yes, right? So in order to do things right, because most of the time when you get into game dev, hopefully you're doing it with the intention of making something that you love.
Right.
If you're doing it to make money, you're in the wrong industry,
Yep.
buddy. Like don't come into game dev to make money.
I feel that
It's
way
just
with
not-
any kind of creative project.
Yeah.
That's how I feel, for sure.
Yeah. I would say that in game dev specifically,
Yeah.
it's really a bad idea because it takes years for you to take revenue out of
Right.
a game. Like it's not like something like you can like resell something or there's none of that. And then there's also I will say this, and I don't mean this as a void compliment. I mean it as an honest statement. Our community, our players, they can smell if you are honest or dishonest eons of miles away. They have this capacity to know, like if you are giving them like a PR type of answer for some question that they have, you can hear when they go, all right. You can hear it in their text. Like they pretty much that they don't believe you. And so if you come at something with this disingenuous vibe that what you want is to make a game that you're going to make a lot of money, then you're going to pull those people, and that's okay. When you're making something out of passion only, right? So both extremes are bad. If you're making something to like a cash grab, people are going to smell that and they're going to feel that and they're going to resent that. But if you make something 100% out of passion only, there is an amount of people that will not resent that, but they will be kind of pushed away from it because they can kind of tell that this is irrealistic.
Right.
Like you're not founded in the ability to actually get that done. So I think people like 75% fashion, passion, and then 25%, I guess I don't know if the word's business, but like realism. Like you're grounded in making this a real product.
Right.
I think the distribution definitely is further into the world of passion. But if you don't have at least that 25%, give or take, of making it real, then you're not going to have the discipline to do the boring thing, the discipline stuff, the things like, sitting down and reading documentation. You're just not going to do that, because if you live in passion, you're going to always want to make the fun thing. And
Yeah.
games are not made out of fun.
Yeah.
Games are fun, but they're not made out of fun. We have devs in the chat. They can swear by it. Making it a game is not always fun. There are moments where it's pain. And if you cannot push through it, the way I would compare it is making a game, it's like feeling stupid all the time. And then you get like 10 minutes of enlightenment, and then you go back to feeling dumb. Like you're just trying to put this little stupid box in this little damn corner, and you just freaking can't. It won't stay there. It falls, it moves, it doesn't create collision, it doesn't move light, and you're like, but it's gotta be so simple. Then you watch some tutorial of some guy that's been doing this for 15 years, and they do it in like 10 seconds, and then you don't feel stupid. You go like, okay, but how did you do it? And they actually never showed you. They just went like, so they assume that you already know. And you live in this exact constant bubble of constant feeling of incompetence. You feel incompetent all the time. If you can't live through that, and figure out how to not let that, like if you're feeling incompetent, you're making something new. That's the greatness of our craft, not the craft itself. The game will be the game, but if you are making something new, you should feel most of the time that you don't know.
Yeah.
And you're faced against those insane moments where somebody goes like, we need a hook for the game. And we go like, it'd be cool if you could throw a spear and jump on it. I mean, it's been done before. It's kind of cool. I mean, and then you go, well, what if we cut the screen in half? Like, and then you start feeling into those, like, and immediately when we say that, I feel for my programmer, like my lead dev. I feel like probably the moment I said that, he was like, what the hell is this guy doing to me?
I will say that I think that mechanic in itself, it's probably what caught most people's attention when watching the trailer.
Yeah.
That's what I was seeing in the comments, at least.
I could tell you, without deviating too much, I could tell you that story was pretty good. There's this team, and shout out to the Greek team. They're the Greek Memories of Azure. Is the game, and they are the Navigante is the name of their studio. They're amazing. So it's this brother and sister have met with me a couple times. I don't want to call them out personally, but they're really great, and they have met with me when we were kind of producing the at the start of the year. We were working really hard to get this going, and my composer introduced me to them, and we just had like a friendly chat. And I love doing that because game devs know more than I do, and they would give me feedback. But the brother specifically, he is, I mean, I love that guy so much because he's the kind of guy that will tell you things straight up in a very, like, he never disrespectful or anything like that, but he'll tell you honestly and directly, like, hey, this is what I think. And I needed people like that in my life, because whenever you're making something, everybody's nice to you. It's like, nobody wants to tell you that the baby's ugly. Nobody wants to, right? So this guy goes like, this looks amazing. This looks great. I love it. What's your hook? And I'm like, I won't tell you the hook because we do have a hook that we haven't shown. But it's like, this is the hook. And he's like,
stay tuned, people. One day, soon.
Yeah, exactly. And he goes like, that's not a hook. Like, that's a feature. I'm like, well, what do you mean? Like, can you take a picture of it and show a picture of it without explaining it? And it's easy to understand. And I'm like, no, I mean, it's more nuanced like that. You got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do the other. He's like, then it's not a hook. And we had like 2 entire calls that, for hours, that this was it. And he would just keep saying it. So what's your hook? That's not a hook. You need a hook. Where's your hook? Nonstop. And eventually I got like, professionally embarrassed because he was right. And it was difficult for me to process, like, okay, but all these things that I love, like imagine this ability to change. I mean, it's all in the Steam page, right? But like ability to unison system in order to change the story and do this and do that and the other. You can't see that in a picture. You just can't. Like it's not, and you can be sort of creative and get it across, but it won't work. But in like Greek, for example, he said, you know what our hook is? You see a picture and you see 3 characters. And even though, of course, is, you'd have to see more of the game. You see the 3 characters, and immediately you're saying you get to control 3 characters, and that's what the trailer tells you, and that's what everything tells you. You get to control 3 characters at the same time. That's the hook. As simple as it could get, right? You don't need more. So I said, okay, this is a problem. We're gonna go figure it out. and then we did two. We did like a, I wouldn't say a game jam, but we pretty much did an internal kind of let's figure out what we need to do. And in 2 days, we had the World Cut. And there was another thing that we made too that maybe we'll bring back.
Yeah.
But we decided, okay, this not for now because that is much more complex. But so just to know that the World Cut is not the craziest thing we made.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
that's so
sure.
exciting. Oh my god, that's like, oh, you're just teasing now, Kendall. I see what
Yeah.
you're doing.
It might not get to exist because when we showed the trailer and people saw this, I think it helped us understand that this is enough,
Right.
and it's also kind of a lot already. So we don't really need more. We need it to be better. We need it to be its best version, right? So if we
Quality
can
versus
get-
quantity.
Yeah, and then of course do we want to do? I mean, is there more stuff that people haven't seen that we are 100% gonna bring? For sure, but we definitely cut a little bit of the complexity that we wanted to add to the game.
Yeah.
Because if we do what we showed much better and improve it, and all the systems are missing from the limelight, I think we already have something that it will require immense discipline to get done right.
Yeah.
And like we were telling earlier, going back to the prior topic, we cannot live in the moment where we hand our food to the customer. We can't live in that moment where they enjoy it. We have to live in the moment that when we're making it, when we
Live
are
in the kitchen.
Yeah, you're doing the prep and you're sitting there cutting tomatoes for hours on end. If you can't do that, and you don't want to cut the onions because you don't want to cry, then the chances of you making a Michelin star dish are very low.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, reducing the amount of total complexity doesn't make the game any worse. It just means that now we can put the time to do the things that we want to do incredibly well, and that's our goal.
So now let's get into the origin of Little Legendary. What is the story behind Little Legendary, and why go indie? Why now?
I used to work in a really, really big company, and like anything, there were some layoffs, and that impacted me and a bunch of other people, like hundreds of people. It impacted me, because of reasons, economic reasons. Like I was pretty high up on the chain, and I had pretty much set up my entire division to be really like a well-oiled machine. This is what you should do if you're a good leader. And inevitably, then you're kind of not needed when things run really well. So, and this is not something that I look at in a negative light. I mean, I think it's just something that companies do. Do I believe that it's justified? I mean, that's the eye of the beholder kind of thing. I'm sure for them it is, but in a world like this, the bus stops on me, right? I don't get to blame, or I don't get to do that, because I think that's a childish approach to managing the consequences of anything.
Right.
So the way I thought about it is like, fine. I mean, this has they even gave us a letter and everything. Is there's no performance reason? Probably they took the people that made the most of every division and let all of them go, pretty much. And it's a pretty horrific thing to have happen, and it makes you question a lot of stuff. But at the same time, when you go through that, there's other reasons why this happened. That morally, I had to make some very difficult decisions there, and say to myself, this is probably the right call, and these are things that I gotta look into and make decisions to walk away from this lifestyle. Like the lifestyle of working on Fortune 100 companies is brutal, and it's definitely very cutthroat, and is very aggressive, and you don't ever feel like you have a family. You feel like you have like acquaintances, and it's difficult. I'm not dissing on it or hating on it at all. I think it's something that I don't regret that lifestyle, but I definitely think that it's not what I would want for my children, right? If I ever have, I don't want this to be their goal of their life, to say, oh, my goal is to go work at X or Y or Z company that's just massive. And that's like, I don't know. It's not, there's something, there's more. I hope that there's more. So between, I come from a product background. I used to was a senior, director in a massive company, ran an entire division in the United States of AI, artificial intelligence models. I've done all this kind of stuff that I could get a job fairly quickly. But then when this happened, I said to myself, I'm going to take the moment, use the severance, use the opportunity to give myself like a 2-year clock. And I'm going to say, I've always wanted to make a game. I've been writing the story of Shape Protocol for, I think over a decade now, in many versions, right? It wasn't originally even like in the future,
Right.
But as I've been working on it through the years for many reasons, I felt like, hey, if I don't do this now, this is it. Like I won't do it, right? I won't ever do it. So I decided I'm going to give myself a 2-year clock and try to see what I can do. So for everyone that's listening to this, even though we don't have an announced release date yet, you can kind of figure it out that I'm a little obsessive about these kind of things in terms of discipline. If I say 2 years, it's 2 years, not 2 years in a day. It's 2 years and that's it. Of course, we're not going to be that kind of, things happen that are outside of control. But, if we are like, at the end of it and we need to, I don't know, like Silksong finally releases. That's a joke I shouldn't make. But, if it's coming out like, the day that we're going to release in 2 years from now, then we don't want, we're not going to, screw our work by launching the same day as a ginormous game. So yeah, we might be cautious, but I wanted to give myself a fair clock and say it'll be what it'll be. And it's we started working I think a little ways before January. I started recruiting people, and then in January we started working like what you guys saw in the trailer, which we released in May. So
yep.
It was about 5 months of
a few
work.
days after my birthday. So thank you for that.
Go. Happy birthday, belated birthday. So the everything you guys saw in the trailer is, I would say, I don't know what a fair number is, but I would say 80% of it, it's real, like as in like completely non-staged, like as it is in the game.
Yeah.
What the 20% would be is that it's set up so that enemies have to be in a certain place in order for us to throw the shield and for it to bounce, right? So
right.
The shield throw is real. Like she throws a shield and it bounces and it comes back to her. But the enemies had to be placed, right? They're just standing there, right? So that's what I mean by stage. So all of it is in the engine. Nothing was recorded, and like there was no like a sprite trick on the side. But not all of it is buttons. Is the point I'm making. Some of it is staged and set up in order for it to play. But that's every trailer on Earth, just to be clear. But everything is in the engine. Everything is real. And doing that in 5 months is just a feat. I don't know. It's a labor of, I don't know, a spectacular accomplishment.
Yes, it is.
So for talking about the studio, the reason why I wanted to say that before I talk more about the people is because no normal set of people gets that done. It's not possible. So I have like a spectacular team of people that I just adore. They are people that I'm kind of like Papa Bear in that way. Like I can't, I care about them a lot, and I want to make sure that they're doing well. And in short, we have a Dylan, composer. He was the first person that I hired. I met him through like looking through Reddit, and this Position 33 all over. But I found the guy and just loved what he did, and I brought him in. He was the first person before we had anything else. I wanted to hear the game before we drew a single frame. So that he's been there all along. Then from there, I got this other guy called Fernando. He's a pixel artist. He does. He's made a ton of games that people know. Like he was part of the team that did 9 Years of Shadows.
That game looks so good.
Yeah, Mariachi Legends. He was part of the team of Elsie.
Yeah,
Salt Quest.
I know that game.
This guy has a lot of good credits, and he's just he's also working now on Isadora's Edge, which is an indie game that everyone should go check out from this guy called Inbound Shovel. He's a great YouTuber, so definitely go check that out. Like so Fernando's the lead artist for most of those games, and just great. Then we got Ilya, which is our lead developer. This guy's just cracked. Like, he's just so smart and so capable. He's also making his own game called Bindejo, which is really awesome. You know, there's just such an amazing mind, and he has such a incredible tolerance and discipline for the minutia of our craft that I just, I couldn't work with someone else without having him along. He's just great. Then we have Durrani, which is he was the lead artist for Ember Knights, which is just a spectacular game.
Yeah.
He was also part of the team for Gestalt, Steam and Cinder.
Wow.
He's working on some other games that I can't talk about, but because they're not out of embargo yet. But he's just really, really spectacular, high level. He did like the entire axe combo for Zura. So if you've seen that in our social media, that's the kind of art that we're talking about. He's made a lot of the enemies too. He made the sniper, like the Death Letter. He made that character almost end to end. Then you have like Danny, which you interviewed.
Danny.
He's our like background artist. He's just like amazing. Like he worked on
man.
LC too. Yeah, he's like just really, really good at what he does. He has a lot of the knowledge, the like 20 years of knowledge, right? So all packed in like a man with a beard. So it's just like this great personality, very knowledgeable. He's like me. We talk in dissertations. So I love him a lot.
Shout outs to Danny again. Check out his episode.
Yeah. There's an episode, so go enjoy that. But yeah, definitely great guy. And then he does like all these backgrounds that we're working on.
Yeah.
If you guys saw, and I don't have to defend it, right? But the stuff that you guys see in the trailer is 10%. Like, I don't know, like the world doesn't look like that at all anymore. Like, we were rushing. So what we're putting together now,
you were rushing, and that's how beautiful it looks still. Like, come on.
The stuff that the team's putting together, from backgrounds to art. Well, before I get too crazy, then we have Pedro, which is our community manager. He's here. He's amazing, and he's like he's helped me figure out social media, because even though I'm only 39. I am 39, so yes, this freaking it's annoying. I have not for the life of me been able to truly set up a way for me to responsibly look at all of our social media every day without spending 2 hours on it.
Yeah.
So he saves me. The game will get made because Pedro can take care of the freaking social media, and I can work. And then there's other people. There's Jesus, which is he's our kind of, I would say he's like our consultant that helps us with all the marketing stuff and talking to publishers and stuff like that. And there's a myriad of people I am sure I'm forgetting, but there's other people that have helped through time, and I feel bad not mentioning them, but I don't want to call them out by name, because I feel like people try to find them and then they'll ask why they're not here and there. Most people that have come and gone is because we've never let go of anybody. That doesn't happen. Is people do in game dev, you're going to have people like consultants that work for very specific things, right? Somebody that will come and make you an example is the key art for the game. That person, we don't have a digital artist right now, so that's done by a friend of ours called Ito. He works. He's from Brazil. He's just a spectacular guy, and he'll do the key art, and then it's like he comes and does that work, and that's it, right? So the core team is about those 5 people that I mentioned, and then the auxiliary team, Pedro and Jesus and the people that help us kind of keep the ship alive. Hopefully, I'm not missing anyone, but that's the core team for now.
Yeah.
And then we're growing, right? We're about to start hiring for 3 more people, but I don't want to make this about that.
Yeah,
but we're definitely growing, because we did not expect this thing to explode, and it's kind of departing our hands very quickly, so we need help.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I think we've made the audience wait long enough for us to finally talk about the game, your debut game, Shade Protocol. Let's get into it, right? Just for the people outside of our live stream right now, and for the people in the future, right, who don't know about Shade Protocol yet, but they are curious, Can you tell us what the core elevator pitch is for the game? What do you think makes it stand out from other Metroidvanias as well?
I need to practice this, so I am so happy that you're bringing it up. So I guess that the way I would say I will describe this if I don't read a script would be so Shape Protocol is what I would call a 2D high fidelity pixel art cyber nostalgic Metroidvania. That's how I would define it.
Cyber nostalgic. What a great what a great word.
I came up with that setting up our Kickstarter page. So I said you can't just like cyber fantasy, because cyber fantasy is great, but it misses the best part of Shape Protocol, which is like I guess the nostalgia, like the being reminiscent of things that are familiar and beautiful, of kind of the Mega Man vibes, right? And the Transistor vibes, the
Nier Automata.
Nier Automata for sure. Metroid in general, Castlevania in general. Even though those two specifically, we've done like a very, very high effort in distancing ourselves from those specific universes on purpose. Like no, for no other particular reason that to get closer to what would a Mega Man-esque feeling of a Metroidvania that is more geared for an adult, a young adult and adult quorum would look like.
Right.
It's kind of like the reason. And we definitely wanted a more energetic combat, like combat where you are flowing a little bit more. You're playing these instruments as you fight, and it's more fantastic. But then we have a ton of if someone is looking at Shape Protocol right now, they'll definitely also see the animation inspiration, like for things like pretty much a lot of anime for sure.
Yeah,
a lot of more quintessential animation projects. Like I think like things like definitely the Fate series from anime. Things like even like Samurai Champloo.
Love it.
There's just so many great shows.
It's funny bringing up both Fates and Samurai Champloo. Kari Walgren, she's a voice actress for Fu in Samurai Champloo, and she is the main character in Fate. We've had her on the show as well earlier this year. Just wanted to shout that out in case anybody's interested. Continue, please. Sorry.
There's so many of those like high energy, high power, everybody knows these animes or animation projects like Akira and all this stuff that, definitely there are good memories. But then there's the like well-known yet a little bit more, I wouldn't say obscure, but like Furikuri is one of those animes that it's definitely like a core part of that, I guess the history of anime, but it's such a beautiful, special story. And the main character, like at some point, like he's like standing on this like very epic robot, and then he has like this like guitar in his hand, like a weapon. And that's the kind of stuff that I was really inspired by when I was much younger. And so like that's really spectacular. Like I know there's way too many characters that use a guitar as a weapon, but that one specifically was so well done, and it was so well themed, and it wasn't just a prop. It was a component of a coming of age story from a character that is not willing to let go. It's a beautiful, beautiful story if you haven't seen it. So we when we're coming into a game like Shape Protocol, what do I mean by cyber nostalgic? Well, it's a game where you feel the familiarity to these games of the past, but it is not meant to be a retro game, even though it feels like one, right? So we don't have like chiptune music or 8-beat tracks. It's not that we don't like it. It's not what we want to make. So we want to make something that looks modern, looks like today, but it's also based on that style, like the beautiful pixel art that flows at 24 frames a second. Like I mean,
right.
It's just gorgeous. So the more you see of that, the more you see of really beautiful pixel art, the more you understand that we are saying we want you to remember those amazing games, but this is not those amazing games. And I think that's part of the huge reception we've received, because nobody is getting the vibe that we're saying, oh, we are a spiritual successor to Mega Man. And I think that's why they're coming to us and saying, but what if you could be? Versus saying like we don't have that arrogance, we don't have that. We're saying that's a great memory and we want to be inspired by it, but here's a different take, see if you like this. And
I do,
it's working.
I will say that Shade Protocol does feel very unique, but yeah, as you said, like with that nostalgic vibe, and like I was on Twitter and I saw that it might have been like the first post I saw of your game before or after Danny hooked us up, got us in contact. I saw that it was like the post of like, if you like these games, and you will like our game, and you listed, Transistor, Mega Man, Nier Automata, and stuff like that, and all that good stuff. And I'm like watching the trailer, and I'm like, yeah, I can kind of see like these, like all these taking some influences, or Shade Protocol taking influences from these games, but like I can't put my finger on a specific thing, a specific game that this is taking inspirations from, because, and we talked about this before off mic in another day, of like that's something you guys are really trying to not do. You guys are really trying to make sure this is as unique as possible. And I wanted to expand upon that a bit more. You mentioned that you're trying not to let other games in this genre as well influence how Shade Protocol is shaped, right? Metroidvanias, right? As you already touched upon that. I just want you to expand more about that.
Yeah, I mean it's a thing. But I don't have anything about. I'm going to use this word very openly, like I don't mean to, but I know that what people used to mean when they say, "Oh, you're such a hipster," like people used to say that thing. I don't think like hipsters were a bad thing, but I mean like people used to use that as you're just trying to be a contrarian, right?
Yeah,
like you're trying to be a contrarian. You're gonna like if people like this and you don't like this. We're not like that at all. I think like our main thing is like it's already being done. Right? So if you've already played Hollow Knight, if you've already played, Prince of Persia, if you've already played Metroid, if you've played Castlevania Symphony of the Night, then you have enjoyed these gameplay loops and you've seen their execution. And like, do you really want to play that again with a different skin? I'm not sure. And once again, I'm not sure. Like people could. I'm sure people would. Some people, maybe a lot of people, say yes. Like we would like that. But then the evidence goes against that, right? When we see a lot of people that will show up and say, I'll give you an example. There's games that look like Hollow Knight, and when I say look like Hollow Knight, that's a courtesy. Like they're very, 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 very similar to Hollow Knight. And you could say two things. They're inspired by that game. Or you could say, maybe they're trying to kind of ride that coattail, right? And it's very, very, it sucks to see that, right? Because if the intention of the dev was to make a game that was their own, then the polarizing effect that it had, just looking that similar to a game that's that popular, is never going to come across 100% clearer. If that makes sense, right? So yeah, their intention kind of disappears into like the similarity. So we have the same problem with Mega Man Zero. I'm not gonna lie, right?
Right. Yeah.
But it's not. It is. I wouldn't want to say it's somewhat not intentional. We do have that vibe, but it's because pixel art at high quality looks like that. I mean, let's just be honest, right? Like whenever you look at high quality pixel art, it does look like what we're making. It looks like Blasphemous. It looks like Eden's Guardian. If you guys haven't seen that game, it looks spectacular.
Yeah.
So this is the trademark of well executed pixel art. So you can compare those games and you'll feel like they're similar. But we want to be more on the closer to the retro aspect of things without being like without saying let's gimp ourselves, let's reduce ourselves to the technology of the past in order to make like ourselves feel more familiar. We don't need to do that because it's what we have is enough, right? The art style is enough. The artists are crazy good. We can execute with a different vibe to get there. So that's one point. And then the other point that you made, like I have a friend that I really love. He brought up like Ori.
Amazing
I don't
game.
think this is probably my best friend and one of my top best friends in the world. I would dare to say, even though I don't know this for a fact, but I would dare to say Ori is probably the only game in this genre he's ever played.
Wow.
And I love that. I love that so much for someone that he's like not like a good or a great. He's like a spectacular gamer. He's a really good gamer. He play, I think he made like, I don't remember the ranks, but like really, really high in like Marvel Rivals recently. Like he's just such a good gamer. So someone like that to play a game like Ori and enjoy it and swear by it, then that speaks to the mastery of Ori, right? To enthrall a player that is not necessarily a single player kind of person and is a competitive, kind of high-end player, we'll call it that, and is a true gamer, someone that plays a lot of games.
Sure.
It's difficult for me to not then see, what does this thing have? Like, what's the sauce, right? That is allowing for this success. That's all to say. Do I want to play Ori? Now I do not want to play it because I feel it's gonna destroy me. The moment that I play it, I'm gonna look at my thing and be like, oh, I should have done it like this. So there is some layer of inspiration I don't want to have. And I know that hurts people's feelings.
No. Oh my God. I think that's fascinating. I'm going to bring this up because I'm not trying to brag, but like this is just someone I had on the show and they talked about this. We had this conversation. They're really cool. Johnny Gioeli, the lead singer of Crush 40, we've had on the show. His episode's going to come out the same month your episode's going to come out, actually, just a few weeks after. And one of the most fascinating things we talked about, or one of the most fascinating facts about Johnny himself, if you don't know Crush 40, they do the music for Sonic the Hedgehog, right? Like Live and Learn and stuff like that. He purposely doesn't listen to music, period, because he doesn't want to be influenced in any other way, because he just wants to create his own music and he wants it to be purely himself. And seeing that same type of mentality or philosophy you're taking into account for Shade Protocol is equally as fascinating. Yeah, there's going to be talks about Mega Man X, Mega Man Zero, and all these other games that we mentioned, because that's just, the world of video games. We eventually will see that. But I just think it's really freaking cool that you guys are making it a point to do this.
I mean, and I want to also be really honest and sincere. Danny, which is my lead background artist, he is like a big fan of Mega Man. I think he's played them all. So it's not like, we don't have the knowledge and the skills in the team, right? Yeah. So I don't want to pretend, because the game director, by the way, I'll just be honest, at the time of recording, the Mega Man X and Zero collection is on sale. I just bought it. I've never played the Zero series, which sounds like an insult. But I played every X game. I don't think I've missed a single one. I haven't played the Zero series.
Wow.
And I'm, of course, so then now I'm going to play them. And as I play them, I'm probably going to feel really self-conscious, because, Intercrete's no joke. Like, these guys are, spectacular. So, I'm going to probably feel, inspired in many ways, but we're already far enough. I feel like now it's safer, right?
Right.
We're far enough where we decided on an identity. We are not going to flip into being something that we're not. I think that's important. Now, I want to be clear to anyone that might hear this podcast. Don't let that process be your process if it doesn't fit you. Like, it's not that important to not get inspiration from elsewhere. What matters is that you definitely make something that's yours, and it's not for the, like I said, like the whole, if somebody has done it before, I don't want to do it. It's not that. It's that you want to be, whatever you do should be respectful, should be really respectful. You should come across as you're making something that pays homage to something that's been done right, without saying, like, I have to do this exactly like somebody else does. Like, there's this guy in our community, he's making a game called Soulgrave that I every time I see this an X post of this or social media post of this, I'm just so impressed. Like, it's just gorgeous. And when you look at it, you could try your best. You could do everything you can to say this looks like something else. You could really try. And it's incredibly difficult even though, you know, it looks like a Metroidvania, plays like a Metroidvania, like, right? It has all of the components. I guess the best example I could say is, like, you know, it looks like a cake, tastes like a cake, smells like a cake, has sugar like a cake, everything like a cake, but it fits in your hand and it's tiny. So it's a brownie. It's not really a cake. And I think, like, those components of the artistry of making something that's yours, that's what people are looking for. People are not interested in, like, oh, you know, did you use, like, Ori's Bash again, right? Sure. I mean, if people love that mechanic and it fits your game, use it, but don't make your game about Ori's Bash mechanic, right? Because, and I know there's a lot of games that do, but then they come up with other cool ways of using it. So that's kind of what I mean. It's innovate enough for you to feel that you're making something your own, and then pay homage and pay respect to the people that came before you, because you're wearing the uniform they left behind, right? You're wearing what they left for you to improve on. If you do it with a lot of respect and dignity, I think, like, people will look good at it, and they will feel that you know that you are. I mean, that's what's happening to us. I don't even want to pretend. Like, we have, like, I think, like 19 or plus% of our wish lists are coming from Japan.
Yeah,
that's like an unheard of thing in like 2 months of releasing, you know, a trailer of a game, and I think that's the story that's going to follow Soul Grave. That's the story that's going to follow. It's definitely, like, we were talking earlier about Layers Deep. I think that's going to happen to them. Peep Squeak, Lucid, you know, all these games are just gonna. Vampire's Veil, like Turnbreak. These games are just doing stuff that's their own in such a beautiful, like a Frog Rain is one that I've been trying to find the time to play the demo. It's such a beautiful game. Like, the more you see this execution that is separate from what we already see, you want to play that more because there's so many games out there.
Yeah,
I think I'm kind of contradicting myself from the beginning of the talk, which is there's no harm in more games, right? And I stand by that. But there's also definitely less time to play all the games. You know, we have people in our community. One of our founders that I don't like, his wish list only grows. So I worry, like, how is he going to be able to bring that down? And I think we all becoming like that. There's so many games, and many of them are so good. Sticking to one is probably the wrong call.
Yeah.
But you know, the more you find that all these games are awesome, the more you need them to be slightly unique, slightly different. So, but yeah, I mean, big shout out to all these other indies that are doing great stuff, and you know, they deserve just the same amount of limelight as we are getting, and all the others. So at some point, we're going to do our best to send the elevator back down. And there's some of them that are crushing us. So I mean, it's not like we're at the top of the food chain.
Yeah.
But we're doing well thanks to everyone that's kind of giving us a hand.
Of course.
And sharing it, yeah.
And I want to give a special shout outs to Turnbreak and John Rojeles. We had him on the show. We talk about Turnbreak and Biogun. Turnbreak is going to be on early access in August, soon. So look out for that if you guys like Pokemon and card battlers and stuff like that. It's really cool, man. I want to talk about a little bit of the mechanics in Shade Protocol. Another thing that stuck out to me was, outside of like the world cut and stuff, is the instruments as weapons mechanic. As a major Zelda fan, I always love when instruments are implemented into a game, whether as weapons or, you know, a tool for puzzles or whatever. You know, there's an emphasis on the instruments, and also in turn an emphasis on how important the music is overall in the game itself, with the themes or whatever. But as these instruments are weapons for Zura, how much of the musical aspect is mechanical versus symbolic in this game?
That's a great question. I would say it's 50-50.
Okay.
And the reason why I would say 50-50, not to you know, live in the middle, but I think there's a component of it, stuff that we haven't revealed, that I'm happy to share a little bit here, because this will come.
A little tease for the people who are here live.
Some
Yeah.
people here that are alive are gonna slap me, but by then, we're gonna be talking about this. So we do have a combo system, like a system where whenever where you press the different buttons. In the game, you don't equip the instruments; they're buttons. So every button in your controller or on your keyboard, it's a different instrument.
So cool.
And then if you're in your controller, you press the X button, then you swing your shield. If you press the Y button, you throw a spear. If you press the B button, you use the axe. So there's all these things. But then if you start pressing those buttons in chains, then there's a very, very simple yet just so well done combo system that makes a little bit of music, right? And it's very tiny. It's not like, I don't want people to think that you're composing a track here. But I mean, if we do really good in Kickstarter, we have an idea to do that. But right now, it's more like the guitar acts, like whenever you swing it, it does like a little bit like electric guitar riff, and it's just a little bit.
Yeah.
But as you're like, if you hit guitar, spear, shield in that order, then you'll hear like the riff of the guitar, then like the flying effect of the flute in the air, and then you'll hear like the shield is the piano. So you'll hear like a little bit of like this tiny little bit of a musical story you just made in combat. But the thing is that your brain gets to memorize this, so now you know what that means, and there's an entire system with it that we will talk more about later. I'm incredibly bad at spoilers. I just all I do is leak. I don't know why, and I can't help myself. So that's why probably we shouldn't get a publisher, because we'll just get sued. I just love about the game too much. But it works for us. We'll talk about this, what that has meant later in the DAUs and the value of sharing in a little bit. But I do think it's like probably the best thing we've ever done. But I guess the combo system, what happens is as you are using these instruments and you're fighting, the instruments that you use have an effect. So let's say, let me see how I can work this without leaking too much. So if you prioritize an instrument that you really like, then the effects that you will get out of quote unquote composing that song would be mostly based on what that instrument's good at. So it's not like overly complicated. I don't want to make it sound that it's super simple. But as you do, they're mostly 3-hit combos, and they have an effect after that. So it's like you compose a song, and then that song has an effect. So the fourth note is the effect of that little track that you made, and it depends on the buttons you hit. It does give you a little bit of a Monster Hunter vibe. I wouldn't say that is as evolved, because WoW is Monster Hunter all over. Like, that's incredible. Like we don't. I think we in the 2D space, it would be really difficult for us to execute that at their level of mastery that they did. But the feeling of saying the feeling of you being able to control those 3 inputs and make something that gives you a result that you expect, you're going to memorize the sound, and at some point you don't even have to think about the inputs, because your brain is looking for that combination of sounds that you're making in order to know the result that you got, right? So that is important to us. Going back to your question of how much is symbolic and how much is mechanical, there's the symbolism of the entire world being made out of code, and code being understood by these machines as music. Because if you're a machine, imagine, I mean, do you really think that as a machine, you think that code is code? Like, for us, right, code is code because we made it, right? Yeah. But for a machine, that's like, I imagine that it would be something else. Like it's like their loss, right? This is like the thing that rules their entire life. It's more important than matter, right? So why would it be as trivial as just code? So for me, the way we designed it to make the world beautiful and a little bit more full of wonder is what we call code. These beings understand it as music, right? So for them, it's sound, and it sounds like that whenever you quote unquote code. You're altering the world around you, and it sounds like music. So there's a symbolism of that, and then there's the action part of it, which has more to do with and like I was saying, in combat, you might use the sound to track what's going on, and that way you don't have to look at the UI. You don't have to pay attention of a buff that you have or not have, because the sounds are guiding you through the actions that you're taking. There's also like things like the world cut, and for people that don't know. I think we might be assuming we have an ability in the game. Every single instrument is a weapon that is based on a real instrument, and for example, we have a katana in the game that it's like the scabbard, the sheath. It's like a violin. So the idea is that you pull the katana out of the of its sheath, and you can play it, and then it pretty much you're playing the violin, but it's creating this cut in the world that cuts the world in half, and those parts stay like that in like a lullaby. Like you sang the world to sleep, and then these two pieces of the world are now cut in different places, and then you can jump around them and move around and go places you're not supposed to, right? So imagine there's a wall, you can cut the wall in half and go through, things like that. So it's pretty intense, but it needs the musical component to it, right? It wouldn't make sense if it's just, oh look, like we're just like super overpowered and we just cut walls in half. That's not the intention. It's more of a, you altered the universe by playing a song. That's kind of how that plays out. So it's very magical,
music is
but very
rewriting
beautiful.
the code.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It rewrites the world around you, and each instrument has a particular effect based on the code that they are, I would guess, say, more specialized to manipulate.
Yeah.
So they do different stuff, but you guys will see that when you see more gameplay.
A good way for me to understand it is thinking about this Stevie Wonder song, where in the like a lyric or a verse is, music is a language we all understand. Since code is also language, music is more of a universal language. So therefore, music can interact or interface with code easily.
I think like that's a better way to articulate it than I did, for sure. So I appreciate it. I think that there is a lot that story wise that will be revealed as people play, and there's a lot of melancholy, I would say,
Right.
nostalgia that goes into it. There's a lot of sense, like I said. I like to, and this is like in our Discord, and it's part of the story. So we always say that the same phrase, like the songs we left behind, the songs like something that's gonna matter a lot. So it's this sense of like, if humans left a beautiful world for their creations, do they really leave a world made out of code? Or if they truly loved them, right? If they loved what they made, and they care about it, and they want their best for them, isn't that thing going to be fantastical and representative of the creativity of humanity? So that's kind of what I think. That's why it's going to be beautiful. Like, and you have other games that have done it in a different way, right? You have Blasphemous and Edith's Guardian, for example, that take the world and make a very beautiful world that is very dark in sense of, it's I'm not talking about darkness as in like evil. I'm more talking like it's a world that feels a little sinister. You're alone, right? There's more of that vibe of loneliness and despair, right? What if we had a game of a similar quality of style and pixel art and whatnot, but then we are saying we're on another realm. We're saying this world is made to be lush and alive and beautiful, but humanity isn't there. So this is like the songs we left behind, like the things we created that are left. So how would we be remembered if we are not here? And all that's left is the things we made. That's the nostalgia of the game, and there's a lot of beautiful undertones with that. So it has to be, for me, it has to be beautiful, and at the same time, it has to be tragic, and this time it has to be hopeful. So it's quite an undertaking, but we're doing well. I think we're getting that across. We're now working on another biome. Kind of like I was about to say what it was about. Well, I won't. That other biome is like just gorgeous. We'll probably do a DAU in the next few days.
Awesome.
But what's going to happen in those spaces and what people are going to see, it's not the traditional, oh, here's like your, mountain biome, and here's like your forest biome, and here's like, you're going to see like this feeling of a story being told, you just running around and doing stuff and experiencing what we drew. So I hope that it'll come across like that. So yeah, to answer your question very literal, I think most of the effect of music in the game is it is mechanical, but we are not making a rhythm game. And I know some people are very happy with that, so I just want to confirm that. It's not like you are, you have to hit notes in an exact, we don't want that kind of stress. We're not making Guitar Hero. That's a great game, that it's not what we're making, right? So we're more saying like, can we connect the music and code into one, cyber nostalgic story? And I think we're on track to achieve that.
As we've been talking about it, the game blends cyber fantasy, music, and code. Can you break down how those themes connect both in gameplay and in the world building? You've touched upon it a bit already. I just want to get some more out of you.
Yeah. So I could tell you, like, one of the biggest thing that I could say in terms of the world building, something that we didn't. Let me start with something that we didn't do a good job of, to give you an idea. What we did not do a good job of showing what the trailer. I think you already know, but I'll ask you the question: like, where are we in the trailer? And if you know, like, say that you know, and I won't, But where do you think we are in the trailer? When you see the trailer, where in the world is the trailer? What would you say?
Where
is it a factory? Is it a? What do you think it is?
Oh, I know what the planet is
Don't say
called. if that's part of the answer.
Well, I'm gonna say, but I guess if people saw a trailer, they'll be like, oh, there's a crazy, big factory, or there's like a, lab, some area there's a lab, and there's like an elevator, and there's like a, war going on. But the entire trailer is in one area of the game. It's unbelievable. Every biome you see in there, it's one. This is our demo that we're putting together. It's probably like one and a quarter times the size of the first area of Hollow Knight. That's our demo.
Wow.
It's 172 viewports wide right now. It's ginormous. This area, it's inside of a Shadow of the Colossus type of robot. You're inside a robot.
Whoa!
And it's like this beautiful feeling of like, the wonder of like you're inside a being that is like under attack, and there's like all this chaos going on. There's a scene that you see a hole. This hole is in this living creature that you're inside of.
Yeah.
And we didn't do a good job at getting that point across.
Yeah, I did
100%.
not get that at all.
Yeah, we did not do a good job there. But that's a blessing in disguise, right? Because we get to do that in the next trailer.
Yeah.
We get to talk about stuff like that. But that is the idea that there's these bastions, we call them, and they're this ginormous robots in the world that somehow are hidden, and you're playing and like, imagine, like, I tell this to Danny all the time, we need to make a way for somebody to climb the back of a bastion, like that moment where you are seeing the world in the background and you're climbing this massive robot that's moving, and you get the sense that you're a pixel of the size of this monstrous thing. So imagine the entire first area of Hollow Knight is like the lung and a part of the spine of this thing. You're not even like, this is not like even the entire thing. It's like just a gigantic thing. If you get that sense of scale from a pixel art game, we've done our job. We've produced something that feels majestic. I don't know what else to say. Like, there's some epic consequence of making something that beautiful, and we want to do more of that. There's definitely a lot of work we need to do to get there. So to answer your question very literally, the connection between music and code and all these themes that we have in the game is to really explain to the player in the simplest of ways, with the least amount of dialogue possible, with the least amount of pausing possible, with the least amount of menus possible, with the least amount of writing possible, to show to them that what would a fantastically beautiful world look like if we left it behind. And I know I insist on that, but I think that's such an important thing of imagining, like, if we were at the end of our time, and we were the beholders of the universe. This is who we are. I mean, to our current knowledge, right? We are the beholders of the universe. If we are leaving these living creatures behind that we created, wouldn't we leave them the most loving, spectacular things we could make? We would, right? I believe so, because we would want them to remember. The idea of making things more musical and making things more less literally cybernetic and more fantastical is because I wouldn't want my creations to live a world of ones and zeros. I would want them to experience as close to the beauty that I got to see in the world. I would like to get them there. But that's not how they were made, right? Like machines don't interpret what they see through a camera as we do. Like they don't get to see colors the way we do. For them, it's data. So the effort, the labors of care of humanity in this story is trying to find a way to get their creations to be as human as possible without our flaws, and that in itself is the connective tissue without all of it. So I think like music is going to matter a lot. Code is going to matter a lot. They're two different things in the game, even though they are related. And there is, of course, the whole thing of the shape protocol itself. Like, what is it? Why does it exist? What's happening? Why are the humans not here? Why are you? There's a lot of pieces there to discover, and I think like we want to be a little closer to a mechanical implication without losing ourselves to like tempo and rhythm and timing. Like we don't necessarily want to do that as a core gameplay mechanic. Are we going to have some stuff like that? You bet we will. Like we'll find ways to incorporate those really exciting things that people like when it's related to music, but not as the core gameplay loop that, if you don't enjoy that, then you won't enjoy Shape Protocol. We don't want that to be the main design flaw, the design concept. So yeah, I guess the short version is music and code are integral to the story, but they are gameplay components. You get to hear the music of the game at all time. There's adaptive soundtrack already planned for the game. So that means if you are not in combat, you hear a track. If you are in combat or if there's a high intensity situation, the tracks explode and they get more exciting and they vibe between one and the other. It's really, music is going to be a core component of the experience.
What are your dream post-launch goals for Little Legendary? New DLC, a new IP, a new game in general, a nap, Kendall? Because you don't sleep, man. You don't.
That question is it's difficult, and it makes me slightly emotional because it's a very difficult thing to answer. Not with certainty. It's not like I wouldn't be able to have certainty with that, but it's definitely more of it's a painful question to answer for many reasons. So I'll try to be brief, but this is not easy. What happens is when you're writing a story for a long time and you really want to make something. It gets me every time. Like when you're making this kind of story, this is something that a lot of people, if you don't ever try to make a game or try to write a book or try to do something artistic like that, you might miss out on a very type of bittersweet pain that it's worth living through. So what happens is you write a story like this. I've been writing it for over 10 years now. And then you end up in a place where you have too much of it, right? You have like kind of like a Star Wars level of universe where you have all this stuff going on and you have all these rules and this and that, and you have all this complexity and you're so passionate about it and you love it so much that it starts to consume your objectivity and you're like, oh, but people need to know this. And then this is little pieces of it that you see, I have to show this to people. And it's until you get to the moment that you have to make it, that then, oh man, oh shit. So what happens is you then realize that, you can't do it. It cannot be done. So I think I tell this to people. It's my preferred analogy for a game. When I think about my game, I think about it's my child. It's been born with an illness. And that's how I see game development. Like I am on the gallery, I'm on the other side of glass, and I'm seeing my child in an operating table. And I am unskilled to help them. I can't operate on them. I can't help them. They're just there helpless. And as a game director, that's your everyday life. Like everything you do is, how can I help this child? Because I could try to operate. Right? I could try to program the game myself, draw the art myself, learn music, do this and the other. It'll take me ages to do it. By then, what will happen to it? But also, am I the right person? Am I the best person to do this? And then you want more for it. So then, you go and find all this spectacular talent. And that's the journey of making a studio. You go and find people better than you and align them towards a common goal. And as you do that, then you have to, If I was the best person to program the game, then I should be programming the game. That's what's best for my child, right? So But if I can find someone better than me, and then I can go do something that I'm incredibly good at, then that's what I should be doing. I'm still trying to find what that is, but I know that at least I'm very good at putting together a team of high quality people, and bringing that forward. But going back to your point of your question, what happens is you have all this story of these things, all these dreams that you have for your child. You thought about all of it, and you've seen their entire life end to end. And then, it's gonna mess me up. But then the doctors that you brought to that room, they look at you through the glass and they tell you, like, we can't save all of it. What do we cut? And it's a very literal ask. It's literal. I remember the first cut we made in the game, like it was yesterday. I remember what I was wearing. I remember like the smell in the air of that moment. The first thing that we cut out of the game, I remember like yesterday. It was the original version of Harmonies. I remember when we did that, and I remember like finishing that call and like feeling like I just cut a part of my child. It's gone, like, and it will not be. And you feel really, it sounds overly emotional, but what I mean is you feel really like you couldn't do, like, it's money, like you couldn't afford it, right? Imagine if you couldn't save your child. Like if you had to choose what part, like, I don't know, like, they have to lose a liver because you couldn't afford it. Like that's how it feels. And I know that for some people that might be, oh, it's just a game. It isn't for me, right? So as you're making these decisions, you cut, and then you cut, and then you cut, and then you cut. And this is game dev. If there's something truly difficult of game dev, is this part, that you love this child so much, and then you don't find yourself enough to realize it. You have to cut. And I don't envy people that maybe don't get the traction that we get, and then they have to cut even more. So I've been blessed with a community that is supporting us enough for us to make this big bets on ourselves. But yeah, I mean, my if I'm gonna be honest, my number one thing when this kind of started exploding, before this exploded, it was I was decided I will not make another game. I will not suffer this again. I won't do it. I can't do this. Like I will make this game. It'll be awesome. I love it. And then I will never make anything else like this again, because I can't stand like the feeling of like I cannot give my child the best life it deserves. And so that stuck with me for a while. But then the community came along, right? And then you are following the same analogy. Once if you do get to save this child, right? If you get the right people in that room, and you get them healthy, what will truly happen, Jared, is that they'll come out of the operating room, they'll go into your hands for a moment. You'll hug them, kiss them in the forehead, and then you will hand them over to their parents, because you don't get to be that anymore for them. This goes out of your hand and it goes to the world. It stops being you anymore. So it's like, imagine this is exactly what Shape Protocol is. This is exactly the feeling. The feeling is that we are making something that is not ours at the end. At the end, it's going to leave our nest, our hands, and it's going to go to people. And we have to accept that since the moment we're making it. So that gave me a different perspective, and I said, okay, no, probably it's the other way around. I need to learn to endure this, and I had to learn to deal with the creative, challenge that comes with making something that you cannot make to your dream state, right? You have to make it realistic. You have to make it real. And then saying to people like, I cut and cut and cut and cut, and this is what I have. Like what I look at, like, imagine like you have both of your hands put together like a little cup, and you're saying, this is all I have to give you. This is all I have left of this ginormous thing I dreamed, and all I have is what can fit between my hands, because that's all I can afford to make. And to people to be so welcoming of that thing, and to say, give it, like we love this, let us take care of it. It's okay, we got this. That since now that we're making the thing, it's the best thing you can hope for. So in that state, the way I think about it is the parents, the people that will take care of this thing that we're making with such an incredible amount of love. This, I call it the labors of love, the right amount of, of hope to make this thing that's spectacular. The people that will inherit it are amazing. These people are amazing. This spectacular humans that will take care of this thing that we're making. They are amazing. So how can I give them so little, right? So little of what everything I could make, all the dreams of all the things that I could make, and I'm giving them so little, and they adore this thing. They love it. They care about it. They make fan art about it. They think about how it could be better. They give me feedback about it. They're here every day on the Discord, telling us their feedback, telling us ideas, or they're in love with it before it is while it's hurt in that table. They already love it. So how can I not make more? If we can afford to do it, if we can do it rentably in a way that it could make more, that thing we have to do more. Even though it's horrific, I'm not gonna lie. Like it is horrific to cut. And I know there's devs hearing this that maybe empathize with that. Maybe some people are better than me in terms of managing that. But it's I have a document where I write everything that we cut, and I suffer it. And it sounds obsessive, but it definitely it's the kind of stuff that if you care enough to remember, it'll also guide you to do the right things, because you can then justify and say, oh, I cut this, but I made that. But in reality, it's only that. It's a justification because you couldn't do it, right? So there's a little bit of if we can make that loss into love, into something that will make something awesome and people will get to enjoy it, then I think it's worth it. And then there's no other path forward than to make more. So super long-winded answer to say, yes, I am currently, with a heavy heart, wanting to make more. Like saying that this could not be it. Is it going to be possible or not? We will know, right? Because it all depends on how well the game does and whatnot. And right now it's looking like it's going to do really well, and we really appreciate that. But there's many circumstances that can get in the way. So to walk away from all the kumbaya and get into the specifics, we want to release the game. We want to do DLCs for it. We want to, and we are hoping that, when we do Kickstarter, we can fund some like free DLCs and stuff like that, so that we can continue the story without having to, charge people for another game. And then at some point, we will probably shift into either making another game in the same. I can't confirm that we will do like a sequel. It'll depend. Like if it's too successful, we probably won't, because I think like most games don't know when to
stop while you're ahead.
Yeah, most games don't know when to say enough, right? But I think there's a lot more story to tell. There's a lot of things I wanted to do in this game that I won't be able to do out of just technological challenges and just sheer economics. But if we could do those things later on, then we would want to. So sorry for the emotional dump there, but yeah, it's a difficult question to answer for sure.
There's nothing to apologize for. Let's head into the speed round, where I'm going to ask you a bunch of silly, random questions, and we're going to see how you do. You ready, Kendall?
I just noticed, this is on the third page of your document,
yeah,
which I didn't know existed. You're stressing me out a lot right now. I just noticed that there's 3 pages to this.
Yeah.
Oh no. Okay, go ahead.
If you were the final boss in a video game, what would your title be?
Holy shit.
Are you the final boss in this video game, Kendall?
That's a good question. One, I'll steal from my own game. Like,
yeah, do it.
we have someone that is called at least, one of the things that is said is like, the Knight of Nothing. Being the Knight of Nothing kind of means like, you were the protector of nothing. Like it was meaningless. What you it's kind of like a voice line of defeating one of the bosses, right? So I guess I would say the Knight of something, something like that. Maybe the Knight of spoilers. I don't know, but maybe the Knight of something. Kind of the sense of there's something we're protecting, and there's something we're making with a lot of care, but we don't really know what that is just yet. So probably something like that. But yeah, I like the very epic, like melancholic name. So it would be probably something along the lines of like the Ender Lilies type of boss voice thing. So yeah, I would Knight of something for now, I would say, just for joking around with it.
What would your boss theme music be? And you can choose any song from anywhere.
It would probably be the music box from Xenogears.
Wow! Holy shit! You like Xenogears?
It's one of my favorite
Me too, man.
games.
Hell yeah!
Faraway Promise
Yes.
is the name of that track. Definitely a heavy inspiration for us. That would be it. Like, it would be that kind of fight that you're just hearing this like beautiful, kind of music box in the background, and you're just
I love that, man.
getting smacked around, something like that.
Understood. If you could attend any fictional event, for example, the Ewok celebration and Return of the Jedi, which one would it be and why?
Wow, the celebration of the homage.
Okay.
I tell that sounds pretty dark, but that moment of it's very hard to understand the beauty of such a moment that they knew was coming. Like, if you guys haven't played the game, I'm not going to talk too much about it, but it's a very, very beautiful yet very sad moment at the very beginning of Clair Obscur. And it's something that these people know it's coming, and they can't stop it. And, it's kind of fundamentally why they do what they do. Yes, I would like to be there, even though it's kind of like not fun. But it would be that kind of thing that you don't get to experience that kind of goodbye in real life. It's just
Right.
well, of course you do, but it's very difficult to get that right. So I would like to see that.
What would your 14-year-old self think of who you are today?
These questions are worse than all the others combined. What is wrong with you? I think they'd be disappointed that I'm not an astronaut. I think that'd be the first thing. They'd be really disappointed that I'm not in space. That would probably be the first thing. I think they would probably be shocked that where I am, in a good way. Like, I think like I've led a life that wasn't what I thought I would do at all. Like, I mean, at 14 years old, I would still, like, this is 1 year before 9/11, like, for context. And, my life was the most, I'm here like playing like StarCraft 1 with my best friend over modem every night until like my mom comes and disconnects my computer. Like, I mean, I have no worries, right? So, at this point, I'm mostly just enjoying, what it is to be a kid. But then, a year later, the world changes drastically for me. And then 2 years later, I thought I was just going to be, I got accepted into electrical engineering and in a really good college in Puerto Rico. And that's what I was going to do. And then, 2 years later, I'm gone to the military. So I think my 14-year-old self I wouldn't use the word proud, because I think that's a condition of expectation. I think they would be shocked that it played out this way, and it probably would bring a smile to their face. I so hope that. Yeah.
I love it. Well, it is now time for you to recommend 3 people that you'll share this episode with when it comes out, that you think they'll be a good guest on the show, if you think they'll say yes, and if you can help me get them on the show.
I think like the dev from Eden's Guardian sounds like someone that definitely is intriguing to look at. I think his standard of quality is really high. His expectation of the game is really high. Have you talked to and I'm so sad that I don't know their first names, but Primitive is the dev from Seed of Nostalgia, which is an RPG.
Both devs for Eden's Guardian and Seed of Nostalgia said that they will be on the show, just waiting on the game to get further along. But yeah, we can count both of them for your 3 people.
That guy's spectacular. He has a lot of knowledge of how things play out. His Kickstarter raised like, I don't know, like $450,000 or something like that. Like, this is just
I was a part of that. I'm
someone
proud.
that knows what he's doing. I think like that's the kind of people that should probably be talked about more in the industry.
Right.
Because they're putting all those resources to work for real, and I think we focus on the stories that go wrong, but they're doing really well. I guess I'll do one more because of the stage of their game, and then I can say some people that I would like to see more of. But I think like there's this the guys from Greek.
Oh yeah.
I think are a really good story. They are production masters. Like, they're very good at the operational part of it. They do really good. Like, they're very thoughtful about how they operate, and I think they have a lot of knowledge to share in a very pragmatic approach that I think more devs should hear about. as an extra, I think like there's a couple of people that I think like I was telling you guys earlier, the guys from like well, you already did like Layers Deep, but the guy from like I think Soulgrave, I think Soul Quest is the Vampire's Veil, the Frog Rain, all those. I'm sure I'm missing so many people. There's Sojourners. I can't remember the entire game. I'm not looking at that screen right now, but there's so many of these people that are not yet in the production stage to be maybe in talking about the game as a constructed entity.
Right.
But you want to catch them early because these guys are going to be spectacular. They are, and I'm not further ahead than them in any way. What I mean is, we got lucky that we got into like a big showcase, right? And that's a different story. But these guys are going to make it, and some of these games are just beautiful. So I would say like those are. I mean, of course, Kyle Thompson from Crypt Custodian. I don't know if you brought him in, but
Not yet.
he is like definitely a spectacular guy. I'm sure there's many I miss. Oh, of course, the guy from Lucid is a freaking such hilarious guy. I would love to hear an interview.
Yeah.
With that guy, he's hilarious. Sojourn Past is the game that I was talking about earlier. But yeah, I mean, there's many more. I'm sure I'm missing people. I apologize if I am to the people who are listening. But of course, would I like to hear about like people like the creator of like Final Fantasy Tactics? Of course, I'm trying to stay inside the realistic thing that we could pull here. But,
yeah, it's people who you can help me get in contact with.
I could get. Yeah, I think some of these people I know tangentially. Like we. Some of them are, I would call them friends, and some of them are acquaintances.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think like definitely if I had to pick someone out of that cohort that would be a good inspiration for a lot of people, will probably be Kyle Thompson.
Cool.
I think like he's made 3 games back to back. He's making a 4th one 2 years apart.
Wow.
Like, man, that's like he's a machine, right? So he's not. I mean, I don't want to pretend like he's like. It's not one that I know tangentially. Like we talk in a server here and there once in a while. He's been super helpful, giving me some numbers of stuff that could help understand kind of where we are. But he seems like a super approachable guy, someone that I'm sure would respond well to an interview of this type. And he's an inspiration. Like being able to do what he does at the scale that he does, with the quality level that he does, as fast that he does it, is surreal. So yeah, I mean that's dream state, being able to produce a game of the quality that he makes, with the music that he makes, mechanics that he makes in 2 years. I don't know how he does it. We're trying, but it's scary. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much for all of that, all those people. We'll do what we can to get them on the show, and I'm sure if there's more, we can talk about that off mic. Yeah, thank you so much. Do you have any final thoughts?
Well, first, thank you to you for setting this up. We really appreciate it. It means the world because some of the things that we talked about here are more far away from the game, but I think it humanizes us a little bit, so that we don't seem like we are just like a yet another soulless studio. So it's good to do that. I definitely think like in the near future, or at least if the people are hearing this, like we'll probably have like more. Some of the other installments will probably be much more about the game and more like really tactical.
Oh yeah.
But if you want to hear more of this stuff like this, or you want to meet more of the team, let us know.
Please. It allows me to talk to more people on the team. You guys get to learn about them just as you've learned about Kendall. Like it's a win-win for everybody. Yeah,
that'd be great. At least for I guess my last message there would be, if you're in a moment right now where you are just trying to find something that to have a little bit of hope for. There's no benefit to me in this. This is not a self-serving thing, but come join our Discord. Really, I would say that's something that, take the time, even if you don't use Discord, install it, show up. It's a hopeful place. It's a place of community. It brightens my day every day that I get to talk to some of these people. It's a really beautiful kind of hodgepodge of personalities. And if you're looking for a little bit of a place to have hope for, show up. We're a good community. We are very welcoming, and I think it's rare to find what we have. So I'd love to see more people be part of it. And of course, if you are interested in game dev or creative endeavors, like our server is going to be a great place for you, and you're gonna fall in love with it. So if I was my own friend, I would invite myself to something like this, so that I would just have the experience of like hanging out with people that are as interesting and welcoming as our Discord just so happens to be, which is stroke of luck, but I think we're also modeling the right behavior, so it's working out. So come show up, and don't be alone. If you are, the world is pretty intense right now. So if you need community, show up, and we got you.
Very well said, Kendall. And yeah, just thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you so much for trusting us, the Razzle Dazzle Show, to be this platform, not only to have your interview to tell your story, but to also continue with coverage for Shade Protocol. We are going to be developing weekly episodes, mini episodes, covering all bits and pieces of Shade Protocol as development continues. And if you guys, again, echoing what Kendall just said, if you guys want to be a part of that process, of those development types of conversations, join the Discord. It is honestly so much fun. If you like Mega Man, if you like all these games that we talked about, if you just love amazing pixel art, if you love great music, if you just love video games, period, I think you're going to fall in love with Shade Protocol. Kendall, thank you so much for doing this, and I'm super excited to continue working with you.
Well, thank you so much for having us, and we really appreciate it.
All right, that's all the time we have for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining us on another episode of the Razzle Dazzle Show. If you want to hear more from Kendall, check out Shade Protocol and his studio, Little Legendary, on their socials, Steam, and Discord. Starting this week, September 7th, Kendall will be joining us for a new weekly series of episodes diving into all aspects of Shade Protocol's development. We will also be recording these live in the Shade Protocol Discord server, so be sure to join up so you can be a part of the conversation. Links to everything will be in the description down below. Be sure to let us know what you think about this episode somewhere on the internet, and be sure to follow us on Instagram at Razzle Dazzle Show, on TikTok at Razzle_Dazzle_Show, on Blue Sky at RazDaz Show Pod, and on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Raz_Daz_Pod. Be sure to rate us 5 stars and leave a comment down below. We'll catch you on the next one.
Next time on the Razzle Dazzle Show.
If you listen to the first few episodes, you'll hear that Dr. Eggman sounds very deep and down here like Dean Risso. But by the second or third week of recording, the producer and director approached me and said, "Okay, we love what you're doing, but we like to add more peaks and valleys to the voice to allow for more comedy," because I was playing very menacing and evil, the way Team Bristow did, but they wanted comedy. So they gave me the template of Martin Short's Jiminy Glick character, who starts up way up high and then goes way down low. And that's how I added peaks and valleys, which became the basis of the Dr. Eggman voice that I'm still doing today.
Tune in next week.